What's happening, everybody? It's Sean, joined by my daughter, Mackenzie, and today on Reactions to the Classics, we have a full album reaction to The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. I don't know this album real well. I've heard snippets of it because it's one of her favorite albums.
I know this album very well.
So she's the expert here. I'm the host. She's the talent analyst today, but thank you for tuning in, guys. We're just doing this album. It's not patron supported, but if you'd like to support us anyway, check out our Patreon link below, the Patreon link on the end screen, because the patrons make this thing go. We put up videos every single day. You've wanted to do this for a long time. I did this research last October. We're filming this in almost August of the next year, 2022. So it's been a minute because you've been busy. But let's get into the quick facts of this. I know you got a ton of facts in your head. We'll jump into this in just a minute. It's the third studio album released in October of 2006. Produced by the band with Rob Cavallo, known for having produced multiple albums for the Goo Goo Dolls and Green Day, which in 2006 it was a big deal to get the Goo Goo Dolls and Green Day's producers. Retrospectively, it might not mean a lot to you guys. It's the band's only studio album to feature drummer Bob Breyer before his departure in 2010.
And it debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and the UK Albums Chart. And it's also certified as triple platinum in the US and the UK. It sold over 3 million copies in the US and 4 million worldwide. And in 2020, Rolling Stone ranked the album 361 in their updated 500 greatest albums of all time. And so The Black Parade is a rock opera centered around the character, the patient. And it's about a passage out of his life and the memories he has from it. He dies and death comes for him in the form of parade. And it's based on Gerard Way's, the lead singer's, notion of death appearing to a person in the form of their fondest memory. In this case, seeing a marching band as a child.
All right, so that's kind of, so you guys kind of know what's up. The concept behind the album seems to be a Paulsemius story built upon at least 2 parallel paths. The patient's journey through the disease and imminent death, and the band's personal struggles, mostly Gerard Way's. It's no coincidence that all the songs are featured by seemingly disconnected verses, which will lack the typical continuity of a plot. Despite being deliberately ambiguous, the almost inconclusive and delusional narration reflects the personality of the patient, that finding himself face to face with death is overwhelmed by conflicting emotions, as most of us will be when we're faced with that. The album also saw the creation of the alter ego band, The Black Parade. My Chemical Romance performed the album live in costume as The Black Parade until their October 7th, 2007 Mexico City performance. On stage, the band donned black marching uniforms similar to those worn by the Beatles for the album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, all the way back in 1967. Of course, we have a review of that up. Check it out after this. The live performance was theatrical, with Way assuming the character of a member of the Black Parade.
Gerard has cited the bands Queen and Pink Floyd as major influences on the album, and similarities have been noted between the guitar orchestration and Welcome to the Black Parade and the arrangements of Queen. And additionally, Pink Floyd's The Wall, the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's, and Queen's Night at the Opera, and David Bowie's Ziggy Stardust are noted as major influences for the album.
Those are some albums right there. That's some albums to be influenced.
And that is especially evident when comparing the album's opening track, The End, to the first tracks on The Wall and on Ziggy Stardust. And Gerard has also said one of the biggest influences were the Smashing Pumpkins, which you can definitely hear. Often giving them credit for their thematic videos.
Shout out to Billy Corgan there. Way said it was, quote, something that 20 or 30 years from now parents could play for their kids and say, this is what I was listening to when I was your age. Check it out. It's still cool. We wanted to make a record you could pass down. There's a lot of music out now that doesn't feel like that. He wasn't lying, man. In the mid-2000s decade, 2005, 2006, there wasn't a lot of great music out there.
And now there's still even though it's not being passed down from parents to kids, people around my age are also just major fans.
Yeah, they are.
A lot of them.
I was surprised that about a year ago when you were a huge fan, how many of your friends are fans. Very critically acclaimed. All Music 4.5 out of 5. Guardian 4 out of 5. Enemy 9 out of 10. Rolling Stones 4 out of 5. All tracks written by Bob Breyer, Frank Iero, Ray Toro, Gerard Way, and Mikey Way. Now look, there's 14 songs in this bad boy. I don't know if you want to say anything else before we start, or you just want to put it in throughout the songs.
Yeah, I'll just put it in throughout the songs.
All right, well, let's kick this bad boy off with the first track, which kind of seems weird because it's called The End, right? So in MCR's Welcome You to the Black Parade, a commentary featured on the deluxe edition of the album, Gerard says this: The End was basically the song where I think when we butted that up against Dead, we realized we're making a really theatrical record that was also going to be very big. We wanted something, I think we wanted the end to feel a little bit like the beginning of Pink Floyd's The Wall. There's a song called In the Flesh with a question mark because it reprises later in the record. We wanted a bit to feel very much like that kind of a beginning, that you were about to get taken on a journey, and I think that's why that song is so big. And it tells a story right away. I just think it kind of pulls you in the story. Ray Toro also added something.
He said that the song definitely set the tone of the record, the entire record, and they had written it in New York at SIR Studios, and as soon as all the drums and all the guitars kicked in really loud from that first acoustic guitar at the start, they knew they were on to something.
Yeah, so look forward to that, guys. And we're going to go from The End to Dead and play them together because you told me that's how we should do it.
Yeah, there's like this perfect transition. I think it's a perfect transition.
Okay. So Gerard takes on the roles of Mother War, the patient, and the doctor, setting up the rest of the album on Dead to be a journey through the patient's final 2 weeks of battling cancer. So if you've never watched a video with this before, the music will not be in here. I recommend that you watch it on the Vimeo link below. Follow on with us. If you know this album inside and out like she does, stick around here on YouTube. We're going to have the lyrics up as always. All right, so we have The End and Dead. We're going to start off with The End. I definitely see, you read the influences of Queen, of Bowie, and of Pink Floyd. All of that shine through in a minute 52 song that started one part of it sounded very similar to 5 Years, which starts off Ziggy Stardust. Very similar to The Wall instrumentally, especially on that interlude, which we've got a review up of Ziggy, we've got a 2-part review up of The Wall, and we got Queen's entire discography up basically. I mean, that was all over that. So I'll cover what it sounded like there instrumentally on this first track. There was a lot of lyrics in here. I really liked it. Tell me about this first track.
All right. So since it is such a short song, it is ignored a lot.
Right.
I never really see anybody talk about this song. And I ignored it a lot at first too. But these past few months, because I have been listening to this album on the regular for like over a year, I've started to appreciate this song more. And I definitely do pay attention to the lyrics too.
Right.
Like in verse 1, if you look in the mirror and don't like what you see, you can find out firsthand what it's like to be me. That's like one of my favorite lyrics of all time out of anything. And it really showcases the patient's, like right off the bat, self-hate, because you see throughout this entire album, it's very evident that the patient hates himself very much, and he doesn't feel like he really deserves anything. He feels like everybody else hates him, so right off the bat, they're kind of showing that.
Right, which is common when people get either a chronic illness or a terminal illness, especially at a young age. You start to have this self-hate because you view it as your body has betrayed you. So now we move into Dead, which, remember, Gerard's taking the role of Mother War, the patient, and the doctor. He sings in a different voice when he takes on the doctor's role, but he starts out with a nice guitar solo. I thought the drumming in this song was fantastic. The overall instrumentation was fantastic, like spot on, very tight, but the drumming in particular, just tremendous.
This was actually my favorite My Chem song for a very long time.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd still say it is, but it's definitely up there.
High praise from you.
Yeah. And once again in the pre-chorus, did you get what you deserve?
Yep.
Saying that he deserved, like, to die, basically.
Yep, exactly.
And then, once again, in the chorus, no one ever had much nice to say. I think they never liked you anyway. At the first song, he was focusing on him hating himself. Now, he's telling people, well, it wasn't just me. Everyone else hated me, too.
Exactly.
And the order of the songs in this album, it's kind of all over the place.
Right.
Like, at the beginning, it's called The End. But this part, it mentions maybe just 2 weeks to live. So this is whenever he finds out, yep, I'm gonna die soon.
Soon, yep. And what you have to get faced with that. In the breakdown, I like it. They're like 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, wah, wah, wah. And in there they drop an MFer, but you can't really hear it. If you're reading the lyrics, you know it's there, but you can't really hear it. They kind of mumble it.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell what he's saying.
Yeah,
there.
exactly. And then they just give that outro, wah, 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 wah. If life ain't a joke, then why are you laughing? They just repeat that. And then at the very end, if life ain't just a joke, then why am I dead? Dead. Now we're to the third track. This is How I Disappear. The whole idea is that someone is conducting a seance to reach a loved one. In an interview with Rolling Stone while still working on the album, Gerard said that the song was inspired by the real-life seances that Harry Houdini's wife held after he passed away as an attempt to contact her dead husband. At the time, in 2005, Gerard also said that the song was, quote, his personal favorite. Remember, he wasn't done with the album yet, so that might have changed. This is How I Disappear. Struck me on this song. Once again, Bob Breyer's absolutely outstanding drumming. And then Ray on lead guitar and Frank on rhythm guitar. The guitar work on there was fantastic. Also, what struck me on there, obviously we talked about what the song was about at the start. I'm sure you'll add to that. But the seance, so basically a dead person talking to you throughout the song. And I thought Gerard really changed up his vocal delivery to sound a little different. About halfway through, he went a little speed metal vocals, like he's screaming and he's going, but there's a lot of variance in this song.
Yeah, I think in a lot of songs, Gerard is really good at showcasing the range of his vocals and how much he can change it up. I was also going to mention the guitar.
It's great.
Yeah, it's different, like at the beginning, but it's really good.
Yeah, it's high level stuff musically.
And yeah, the patient's basically just saying to his ex-girlfriend that without her, just no one's going to remember him.
Yeah, she's going to keep the memory alive, because once we're dead and gone, unless people keep our memory alive, no matter what kind of legacy, you could have founded the greatest, business ever or whatever, but eventually you're going to fade away no matter how much you think your memory is going to live on. So yeah, he is telling her that. And next up we have a track I don't have any research on, The Sharpest Lives. The Sharpest Lives definitely starts out different instrumentally, right? But I still think Frank and Ray's guitars are just fantastic on here, and obviously the drumming again. But they really know how to bang out a chorus. The chorus is just, they pump everything up. Gerard gives everything he's got in those. The Sharpest Lives, you can talk about the song in a second, but I did not realize, I've never heard this term, guys, and I'm almost 51 years old, that the sharpest lives, people talk about people who are on drugs and alcohol and partying too much and doing bad stuff for their life, that's bad for their body. They're on the sharpest lives. I've never heard that in my life, but you learn something every day, they say.
Yeah, this song, it's focusing kind of on the patient's lifestyle,
right?
Going out partying a lot. It mentions alcohol and drugs a lot. On a bender, I'm drunk, I suppose. And then the chorus, give me a shot to remember, and you can take all the pain away from me.
Yep.
So he uses that kind of to cope.
Yeah, exactly. And he says the sharpest lives are the deadliest to lead because it's so bad for you. So yeah, anybody who's dabbled in alcohol, which better not be you, they realize like in the moment it takes away the pain or whatever you're going through. But then guess what? You get sober and it's still there again. So you're either going to deal with it or drink more. But yeah, I thought it was a really good song.
Yeah, and if you are somebody who has heard other parts of their discography, then you might notice in the chorus it mentions vampires. My Kim really, really loves vampires.
They have
multiple songs with it in the title. They like to bring it up, so that's just a little thing that you might notice going through their albums.
Little Easter egg through the albums. Well, now we were up to the song that everybody knew back in 2006. You were just born, so you didn't know it.
I didn't. I wasn't even born yet. This was like a month before I was born.
Welcome.
But we've made it. We've made it to the song.
We made it to the song. Welcome to the Black Parade lead single. Music video for the single is recognized as MTV's greatest music video of the century in 2017, which I found to be insane. I mean, that's quite the...
It is a very well-crafted music video.
Obviously.
It's edited amazing. They have the costumes that became iconic for not just this album, but for the band. Right,
exactly. Topped the UK singles chart. They're first in the UK. Reached number 9 in the US, their highest charting single. Number 1 on the US modern rock charts, which is really the chart that's a lot better than the Billboard Top 200 in the 2000s. It was named one of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame songs that shaped rock and roll. Gerard said, I like to think that when you die, death comes for you however you want, and I feel that it's your strongest memory, either from childhood or adulthood. For this particular character called the patient, his strongest memories of being a child and his father's taking him to this parade. So when death comes to him, it comes in the form of a black parade. Now, Ray Toro described the song as something else.
As the band's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow.
And many fans are also fans of other emo bands, so they take it as far as to call it the emo Bohemian Rhapsody, as in it is the song of the entire genre.
Yeah, and I say it's over 5 minutes long, too. You can tell me Ray's quoting us, but it's over 5 minutes long, so you see how it kind of fits with the Bohemian and the different tempos and stuff. But what did Ray say?
He said, "It is probably the most epic song on the record. I love how it came together. It's a song that we had been writing since the start of the band, but it started out in a very different form. It didn't make our first indie record because we didn't have the time to finish it. We brought it back for revenge, and it was another situation where it just wasn't feeling right. I'm very glad that they waited.
Wow.
It's perfect."
Yeah, I was going to say, wow.
So it didn't make the record.
Gerard felt that the lyrics weren't saying anything to him, and neither was the chorus. So we changed a few things. What's really cool when you write music is sometimes all you have to do is change a chord progression, and that completely changes the face of the song. So we just basically changed one note in the chorus, and it let Gerard go somewhere else that he wouldn't have gone. And that's where the hook of the song came from. And as you said, like, it's fundamental to this album, so it's crazy that it was this old when it came along.
Yeah, so, I mean, if it had been put in another album, an earlier one, either... Because this is the song that made them, like, really over. Their second album, that kind of got them out there.
This mainstream.
So if it wasn't new, then they might not have gotten that big. Or they could have gotten big earlier if in their first album it was discovered.
True. So, but odds are usually in the first one they're not. As you said, the second one they started gaining some notoriety. And it fits in just the whole vibe of this album with it being the rock opera and all that. Welcome to the Black Parade. You know, and I say this a lot, Mac, on this channel when I'm doing stuff, when I come across albums that have just like an iconic song. This is definitely an iconic song. What happens is you hear the song so much that you kind of, you know, I don't want to hear this song again. And when you hear it in the context of the album, you realize how absolutely great the song is. Even if you've heard it 1,000 times, like how just, like, this song is so, so good. And it does have parts of Bohemian Rhapsody with the harmonies, the 4-part harmonies when they come in through different parts of the song. But it is just so good. I saw in the notes on Genius, that's what we use for lyrics. Some people say it has allusions to Christianity with the Holy Spirit there being his dad and the Phantom and Jesus in it. We're both Christians. I think you can read that into it. I don't think it's necessarily here. I don't know, but you can read whatever you want into a song. But wow, this is good.
Yeah, this is a song I'm careful of not to listen to too much, because whenever you see My Chemical Romance, it's usually this song.
No, it is.
Everywhere.
It always is, yeah.
But I genuinely do not think I will ever get tired of this song. Every single time I listen to it, even though I've heard it so many times, I always think this is a masterpiece.
It is. It is a masterpiece. It's absolutely a masterpiece. And it is partly because of all the change-ups in there. The instrumentation's fantastic, but the 4-part harmony, like, and it goes back and forth. Most songs, when they have a change-up, they do something, they have the change-up, and then the song finishes. But this goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So it's 5 minutes and 11 seconds, and it feels like it's 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, do not think that there's really anything they could have done to make this better. I don't even know what my favorite part of it is, because based off of the way it sounds, I think the different sections are the intro, the chorus, and the first 2 verses, and the bridge, and then
the breakdown
and the outro I grouped together, because those 3 parts all sound different, but they're all just perfect.
Yeah, they are. I agree.
And you know, the irony about all of this is this song makes me happy every single time I listen to it.
Right.
But whenever you look into it, nobody ever really talks about what it is that makes it so depressing, because it is. And it doesn't sound like it is. So, unless you look at the lyrics.
There's a lot of songs people sing along to, that seem really happy.
The intro is the only thing that doesn't sound
artists
happy.
like to do that, make the song sound happy, but then if you actually pay it, that's a good point.
So when you look at it, his father is asking, when you grow up, would you be the savior of the broken, the beaten, and the damned? Well, now he is the broken, the beaten, and the damned. He's become exactly what his father wanted him to go out and fix.
True.
And now he can't even help himself, let alone anybody else, because it's his time. And we also saw on This Is How I Disappeared, that was about his ex-girlfriend, he was telling her, without you, my memory won't be here, it'll be forgotten, and then the chorus, your memory will carry on.
I noticed that was a very good connection. I noticed the same thing. Like, this is saying the opposite. Like, I don't need, like, we've got you here, man. That memory is going to carry on. So, yes, every bit as good as the press gives it, right?
And now the sixth song, titled I Don't Love You, it was the third single off the album, and it went to number 13 in the UK. And while the band was touring, they began to record using the bus's recording unit. And this is one of the only songs to be used from this session.
I Don't Love You. I'll tell you, one of the hardest things in music is sequencing an album when you know you have an iconic track. When they record Welcome to the Black Parade, they're like, man, this thing is great. What do you put after it? Because oftentimes, whatever you put after it, even if it's decent, it's going to be like, man, this song isn't any good because that other song is so... This song is actually really good. It's a heartbreaking song, I Don't Love You. I don't know if he's reflecting on a past relationship as a patient. I think it's more so he knows he's dying and he's trying to push her away. Either she's walking away because she knows he's going to die and she can't take it, or he's trying to push her away because she doesn't want her to go through that.
Over time, I've definitely liked this song more so because of the lyrics. And what I really do appreciate about the song is that, while yes, the song is meant for the patient, it fits into his story, it's very open to interpretation, and it can mean just about anything, whatever you want it to. Very true. I really like that about it. Even though there aren't many lyrics, there's still important lyrics. Yeah, they're
well done. And I mean, there's a lot of lyrics in most of these songs, which I need to point out too, because sometimes in this genre there isn't. I mean, there's tons of lyrics in all these songs. And even this, it has some really good lyrics on it. Now we'll go to the 7-track House of Wolves. The song was described by the band as being the patient's glimpse into hell, which was imagined as a fiery jazz club filled with demons, wolves, and sinners. What do you think of that, all you jazz fans? I don't know about that. All right, House of Wolves. Not my favorite song, and probably my least favorite song in here, actually. It sounded a little bit during the verses, almost like the Stray Cats back in the 80s, and I didn't really care for them, but they are very good at the pre-chorus and chorus of really building up that anthemic chorus. So I did enjoy that one. I understand how it's got to advance the story. What did you think of it? This is actually one of my favorites on the album, and maybe for the band in general. But you've heard it a lot. Yeah, I just really like the energy in it, the feeling. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I get that as well. I get the energy from it for sure. It is getting after it. I don't really have a lot more to say about that one. Let's advance the story with a song I can say I'm familiar with. I've only heard it once, but you and I actually did a song reaction to this. I don't know, it's probably about a year ago. It's actually got 10,000 views on the channel. So if you want a real deep dive into this song, go check it out after this. But the song is Cancer. The entire song was written in 8 minutes. In an interview with NME, Gerard spoke about the tragic, bleak tone of the song. He said that he wanted to write, quote, the darkest song ever. It's not a poetic track. It's very direct, very brutal, but that's the way the disease is. Obviously, cancer is being used as a metaphor, but I also wanted the song to be directly about the disease because it's something that the patient has gone through, and it's a very powerful thing. For me, it was almost like an attempt to write the darkest song ever, and I think we achieved that. All right, man. All right, Cancer. What this song is it is absolutely heart-wrenching throughout. You know, it's only 2 minutes, 22 seconds. That's probably a good thing. A little vocal effect, just a tiny vocal effect on Gerard's vocals actually enhances them and makes them sound even more powerful. Just pulls you into the story. So that's one of the things I want to point out that makes My Chemical Romance different than some of their peers during this time. They really can vary things up. I mean, everything else, right? All we talked about is the guitars and the drumming and how great that is. This one, you're just pulling us into this story. And I mean, I think the most heartbreaking, verse 2 is heartbreaking. Oh, my agony, know that I will never marry. Like dying young and knowing you're never going to have that life ahead of you that you should have. I'm about to say something that I know very well I am in the minority of. I don't dislike this song. Am I glad it's under 2.5 minutes? Yes. It's one of my 2 skip songs on this album. We'll get to the other one later. I just haven't really been able to get into this. I wouldn't call it what Gerard said, the saddest song, whatever. Or darkest song as ever. Much as I love you, Gerard, it is definitely dark. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame you for that. I don't think that's a bad, because I think this song is so deep and so difficult to listen to then I don't think you want to listen to this song on repeat, right? So I don't think that's a bad take at all. It doesn't mean that the song isn't really good. It's just, there's a lot of albums out there I don't want to listen to on repeat because they're so dark.
Yeah, verse 2 was definitely my favorite part. I love the way he sings each line, and that's when the drums pick up really nicely. And he mentions in here, "Know that I will never marry." On that part, it makes you think, okay, are we talking about whoever he was singing to on the song "I Don't Love You"?
Right, or is he just telling his family that? So, yeah, and that's what I pointed out earlier. My favorite line in there was that.
And at the end, because the hardest part of leaving this is you, that's where I switch, and I think more that it's his family on that one. Too. Just because at the beginning, he mentions, "Call my Aunt Marie," so in my mind, this is definitely mostly towards his family.
Right, and of course, my sisters and my brothers still will not kiss you. Although, sometimes we refer to people as our sisters and brothers that are not actually related to us. So, Cancer, a tough listen, but a very good listen. Now we're up to the 9th track, Mama, featuring Liza Minnelli, of all people. I would have never imagined Liza Minnelli out here with My Chemical Romance. It's a narrative told from the perspective of a soldier at war. He knows his death is coming, so he attempts to mend his broken relationship with his mother while he still can. Gerard told The Village Voice in 2011, so 5 years after the album came out, he said, "There was a line that was the only spot on the record that I wanted a guest vocal. I wanted a voice to finally talk back to me, and I wanted somebody kind of motherly, but who was also a survivor, had been through a lot, but was rooted in theater, and so she was in." She was, talking about Liza, she was the first person that came to mind, and then the producer, of course, Rob Cavallo, had made a phone call to her assistant, and that was it. She did it for free, and she was happy to do it.
And he later told the New York Times in 2019, "We recorded that remotely. We were in Los Angeles at Capitol, and she was in New York with a different engineer. It was really cool. The first time I got to speak to her was through the mixing board."
Hey, that's pretty cool, man. That is technology. Back in 2006, pretty amazing they could do that. All right, Mama. Now, this was by far the most theatrical song on here. I mean, the way he sang the first verse was in Mama, however he said that, with those kind of a accent on there. We got a big sing-along with everybody towards the end. So I could have seen this in a Broadway play. Now, they, of course, once again, they bump up the chorus. And then, I mean, when the breakdown, when he's going, "Mama, Mama, Mama," right before Liza Minnelli comes in, it's almost like a Metallica type breakdown in there with the way the guitar was played and the way Gerard was delivering that. So I get it. It's the atrocities of the war. He's basically saying we're all going to hell because we do all this stuff, and he even tells her at the end, "If you'd seen the stuff I've done with this gun, like, you couldn't possibly do all this and not go to hell." So I get it. I don't really care for this song.
I actually used to be like that. I was kind of like,
I thought this might
whatever.
be your other skip one. You're letting me down, Mac.
I love this song now.
You love this song?
I love this song.
You want to revise that to like, or you want to keep
I love this song,
Okay,
Sean.
all right.
All of the songs on this album, except for maybe Teenagers, is very story-driven.
Right.
But this is one of the only songs that whenever I hear it, I was actually listening to it earlier, I actually kind of stop and I, like, in my head, I'm envisioning the whole story and everything. I'm focusing on the lyrics and everything that's actually going on. And as we've already stated, this is from the perspective of a soldier in the war. And this is not their first song about that. In the album before this, 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, they have another song titled The Ghost of You. And that is about a soldier who does die. So this is not their first dabble in soldiers in the war. So I also feel like, I could be wrong, but to me it seems like this can also be a metaphor for the patient, as we've already established. He hates himself, right?
And he's going to war against cancer. So I thought about that as well.
And he says, like, "You should have raised a baby girl. I should have been a better son." And then next he says, "I could have been a better son." He's thinking about all these things. It's gonna end, and he has a bunch of regrets, but he tries to kind of make himself feel better. Like, right now they're building a coffin your size. Yeah. Saying, like, just because I'm bad, that doesn't mean you're not bad too.
Right. He says, "Mama, we're all full of lies." So just to clarify, as we end this thing out for this song, I think it's very well written, and I see what you're saying. It's very picturesque. I just don't like the arrangement on it at all, except for the chorus part.
That's what I used to not like.
Yeah, and so you were right then, and now you're wrong, but that's okay.
And at the ending, the very end, you can hear crying and stuff. And what was the instrument like at the very end?
It's a Wurlitzer, so it gives it a different kind of sound to it.
Yeah,
sure.
Every time I hear that, it sounds like something that would be in a funeral.
Yeah, it really does.
So it just gives off the vibe that
it builds
it ended.
The theatrical environment to it. And let's continue on with our run here of one-word songs. We have Sleep. The song follows Mama, obviously, in which the patient reveals his beliefs on his hellish destiny. This belief has likely led him into this state of apathy as he believes actions no longer have consequences at his final destination. The song features recordings of Gerard's experiences with night terrors, which he believes were invoked by the haunted mansion they recorded Black Parade in. While recording the Black Parade, My Chemical Romance stayed in the Paramore Mansion, which is rumored to be haunted and very famous. All right, Sleep, a very unique song with the way the spoken stuff is intermixed in there a couple times, and then at the very outro part of it, I think the song had a little bit harder edge. I think Bob's drumming was a little more even ramped up because of, what this is talking about, the night terrors, the sleep, and he's just kind of talking about what he goes through with that. What do you think about this song?
I think that this song could be 4 minutes and 43 seconds shorter.
So this is the one.
We've made it to my least favorite song on here, and I was going to say, I don't dislike this song, but now I'm just going to say I don't hate this song because I've never before had to sit here and only listen to it.
Yeah, it's different, huh?
It's just really boring. Like, the whole song just bores me.
It is pretty boring. I see what they were trying to do, and it's keeping with the theatrical thing with mixing the voices in there. I thought the musicianship was good, but I mean, I didn't care for it either, but they were trying to put you, much as like the last song in Mama, the thing you liked about it, it put you in that place in the story. They're trying to do the same thing here, just with a harder edge. I mean, I'm not a big fan of this song.
And in the intro, whenever he just keeps repeating the same thing, I thought I was going to go insane. Like, it wouldn't stop. He just kept saying the same thing.
Because that's what he wants to do. See, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to drive you into that manic, like... And I like the way they do that right away, though, because it draws you in, like, what is going on, man? And he sounds distressed. And, it's different back in 2006, guys. You're not pulling up all the lyrics on the internet. You could find them, but it was a lot more difficult. They sure weren't areas where you could break them down, like on Genius, where you can click on there and see what the artist said. So you were probably like, what is going on with this? All right, next up is Teenagers, the fourth and final single in the UK, third single in the US. Despite charting at 67 on the US charts, it's their highest single on the Pop 100 at number 23. Went to 9 in the UK. You guys are noticing a theme here. Much like a band that I enjoy right now, The Killers, MCR is much bigger in Europe than they are here in America, and you could see it there. Gerard is quoted as saying that he wrote the song after finding himself in a New York City subway car full of high schoolers. That was the first time I felt old, he said. I was nervous, and I was a target. I felt like I'd become a parent figure or part of the problem. When guitarist Frank heard the song for the first time, he thought it was a joke.
About the relationship between the song and concerns about gun violence, Gerard said, the song almost didn't fit on the record, but it's a topic that's so important to our culture. It's about a really big problem in America where kids are killing kids. The only thing I learned in high school is that people are very violent and territorial.
Well, and I mean, I don't know when that quote was from because it wasn't attributed, but it's been a while. I don't know if it was when the album first came out or later on, but this is only more true now. All right, Teenagers, I see exactly what you're saying. And this song actually has more streams than Welcome to the Black Parade, which is shocking to me. But I see what you're saying because this song doesn't belong on here. But here's where timing matters, right? In 2006, you had to have somewhere to put a song. Nowadays, they just release this to streaming. It doesn't have to be on an album, and it's fine. So there's somewhere they had to put it. I think it's okay as a song. I mean, I think with what goes on today, it's very relevant. They're so good. I say this in every song. It's really as a formula. When you guys pay attention, I don't know these last few songs after this, but whenever the chorus hits, they up the guitar pacing just tremendously. It's a trick that people use on choruses to make them catchy. There's all kinds of music tricks to use on choruses. That's what they use. And so it just makes it a sing-along, right? It sounds like a sing-along you could do in an arena.
All right, I unfortunately now have very mixed feelings about the song. I used to really like this song.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites on the album whenever I first listened to it. Then it got very popular, like on TikTok and stuff. And so now it's everywhere. That's why it has the most streams.
Okay.
And so not being able to get away from it, every video you look at, wherever, even like on YouTube and stuff, like, there it is. And so I got like burnout on it. But I do like the song, but yeah, I'll never be able to agree that it should be on this album.
I think you're 100% right.
It completely it ruins the flow, and like, it is the only one on here that doesn't have like that story, and maybe that is because it had the most, out of any song on here, it had the most story of why it was written, instead of being made up fiction for the patient's storyline. It's about something that happened to Gerard.
Yeah, they should have just hung on to it. You're right. Or they should have it'd be weird to finish with this because of the thematic, but they probably should have just finished with it then and go, okay, the story ends here and here's the song.
It also feels like they might have kind of thrown it in there because it's a
single,
more upbeat song, and it might single. Like, you know, give people a break from all the darkness in every other song.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it's a sing-along single, and you got to have those to pay the bills in the music industry.
And now we're up to the next track, Disenchanted.
All right, Disenchanted. That is an excellent song, man. First time we get some really nice acoustic guitar work in here from Ray Toro. But man, yeah, this song was fantastic.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say on this, except that I've always just thought that it was a wonderfully crafted song.
It is. It's so well written. I mean, it just tells the story. You listen to it, it tells the story. I mean, he's reminiscing on the good times in his life and realizing that those are about over. You know, and man, yeah, just a great song. You're up to Famous Last Words, second single, number 8 in the UK, only 88 in the US. Come on, US. The final, quote, proper track on the album lets the listeners decide whether or not the patient dies. Gerard wrote it for MCR bassist and, of course, his brother Mikey Way. Mikey temporarily left the band during the recording of this album due to severe anxiety, but agreed to resume working with them upon hearing this track. Mikey actually said this. He said, "The troubles I had during the Black Parade aren't a mystery to many of the fans of our band. A mixture of pressure, self-doubt, and severe depression left me a shell of a person, which in turn led me to remove myself from the situation. During one of our phone conversations, my brother said to me, 'Hey, I wrote a song for you. I think you're going to love it.' When I finally made my return to recording, hearing that song for the first time, the mix of emotion, lyrical sentiment, and triumph brought me to tears. It illustrates that regardless of the obstacles standing in your way, not only can you overcome them, but rise from the situation stronger than you've been in your entire life." That is quite the build-up for a song. Famous Last Words. I do know this song, and I know you play this song a lot in the car. I mean, I think I remember from back in the day, but maybe I don't if it only went to 88. Maybe I just know it from you playing it all the time. But it's a fantastic song. It really is a representation of how good the production on their stuff is. Because even when you get to that bridge, like the guitars from Ray and Frank, and I haven't mentioned it either, they're the ones on these backing vocals forming these great harmonies on the choruses and stuff. But when we get to the bridge, they strip everything away and they change the guitar tone. It's only the guitar for the first 3 lines, and then they add the drumming in layered on top of it. And it takes you on this journey. I think a little bit to end the album. There is one more song, it's a hidden track, and we will do it. But I've given you a little bit of hope, you think, at the end? Is that what you think?
Yeah, it seems like he may be having a bit more of a positive outlook compared to the rest of the album.
Right, yeah.
Where he's welcoming death, really.
Yeah, exactly. Now he's trying to look at the bright side as a cliche, but it's really true. It does your mental health a whole lot of good. But I think it's a really good way to end the proper album. I don't have a lot more to say about it. I mean, it's more of the same in a very, very good way. Man,
this song, it's already a good song. Like, it's already a great song, but if you actually like the band or you know anything about them, really, knowing that Gerard wrote this for Mikey after he had taken a break from the band just makes it mean a lot more. And every time I listen to this, I can hear all the emotion in it and
that's a good point.
Feel the story. I especially like the ending whenever they're just repeating the "I'm not afraid to keep on living," all that stuff multiple times for about the last 40, 50 seconds. Sometimes I just listen to that part if I don't want to listen to the whole 5-minute song, because that part is just so well put together.
It
all
really
the
is.
layers, all the instrumentation is just great.
Great harmonizing. Yeah, it's fantastic. All right, we're going to finish this off with a hidden track called Blood. It's a very old-fashioned chipper style. It's meant to be ironic considering the horrid nature of the lyrics. It's a bit of dark comic relief after the album. The patient has just relived horrific experiences at the door of the death, but in famous last words, makes a decision to persevere through life rather than accept his death. Now he returns to life and wakes up in the hospital under extensive treatment and sings a sarcastic tune about how even though he chose to live, life kind of sucks. It's really weird, these hidden tracks. They came about mainly, I mean, the Beatles have one, but the main thing that hidden tracks came about was when CDs were invented and artists are like, we want to fill all 74 minutes of a CD because that's what you can put on a CD. And back in the day, in the 90s, there'd be 8, 9, 10 minutes sometimes of silence and then a song. And a lot of us wouldn't even realize they were there because they're not listed.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, this one starts at 1 minute and 30 seconds.
okay, so that's where we'll jump into it at. But yeah, I won't judge it till we hear it. All right, Blood. Kind of like this belonged to like a 1940s movie. I could say that. I mean, I don't really have much to say about it. I mean, it's interesting the way they decided to arrange it. It's a hidden track. It doesn't really mean anything in the album proper. I mean, you got anything to say about this?
I like this song.
I mean, it's fine.
That it shows ultimate character development.
Yeah.
And like
I can see
he
that.
does mention in a more PG version, I'm putting it, that he is a bad person. He still
That's
thinks.
right.
However, he doesn't really care. He's embracing it, you know?
Yeah, he's at the end of the road probably, and he's saying, oh, well. So, hidden track at the end there. All right, now we come to our favorite tracks. Mac, you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
So, my favorite tracks have basically been the same since I first heard this album.
Okay.
Welcome to the Black Parade. Famous Last Words. Those are two very common favorites.
Right, I'm just going to say those are on my favorites list, too, so I don't have to repeat it.
I love Dead. I will never get tired of that
That is also
song.
on my favorite list.
I love House of Wolves. And if we're throwing in another one, I've been really vibing to Mama lately, so.
Well, all right. I'm going to add to the three that you already have up there that I said I agree with. I'm going to go with Disenchanted and This Is How I Disappear. Now we're going to get to our overall score. I'll go first on this one because I imagine you have a little bit more to say. Look, this is a really good album, man. I knew a couple of the songs on here. I think the songwriting is fantastic. I think the musicianship is great, from the drumming to the guitar work. I think the song structure, songwriting, underrated. These guys are really, really good. They definitely know how to write a catchy hook, even in songs that have this like very somber subject matter. So, and the way this all fits together. It's a long album with the hidden track. It's 14 songs, 52 minutes, but it's a good journey to go on. So on first listen, I'm going to be at a sky high for me on first listen, 8.25. I have a feeling you're going to be a lot higher on this, but as I always say, guys, first listens to albums, I'll have people come in, I can't believe it's not a 10. I'm like, the first time you ever hear an album, if you rate it a 10, you shouldn't be rating albums.
Yeah.
All right, what
All right,
do you got?
8.25. Yeah, you can say my father.
Okay,
now.
all right, for now.
Now.
I passed the
Since
test.
this is your first listen,
Yeah.
I'll let it slide a bit.
Slide, girl. This is a good rating on this channel.
All right, I am, even though there's a couple songs on here I don't really like, they're still undeniably great songs.
Right.
Simply, I just don't like the sound of them or whatever. So I'm gonna have to give this a 9.75 because this is one of my favorite albums of all
totally
time.
get it.
By far. From one of my favorite bands, either my first or second favorite.
Even wearing the merch.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And yeah, just the way that the story is put together is just so perfect. Besides teenagers sliding in there, but we're gonna. It's fine.
Sound
It's
like
fine.
It's not there.
And just all the songwriting is just so great.
I agree.
The way that they layer everything. The backing vocals is something I never really mentioned much, but like
Fantastic.
the echoes, the backing vocals, the whispers in some of the songs just give it a great extra touch. So yeah.
Yeah, I could see how repeated listens with all that. If you're listening to it from front to back, from beginning to end, I could see how this would grow on you a ton, especially if you like this style of music. And I really like this style of music. I liked it back in the day. So I'm really glad we did this. I knew we've wanted to do this for a long time. We're probably going to do more MCR stuff. So need you guys to help us out and do a couple things for us. One, if you haven't subscribed yet, please give us a subscribe and a thumbs up. It helps them in this vaunted YouTube algorithm. But also tell us your favorite songs on here, what you think of this album, and what you want to see us do next with MCR. The next project we're going to have, I won't say which album it is, but we're going to do an Arctic Monkey, so be on the lookout for that. But Mac, always appreciate you. Appreciate spending this time with you, sharing some great music. And
I'm glad to share one of the best albums of all time with everyone.
Well, I mean, I think it's important too. It is important. It's fun to share something that you love. So yeah, I definitely get that. All right, guys, until next time, we will see you.